So I've been noticing how gratitude is so intrinsic to finding healing and to finding calm and peace of mind, all things that I have been very desperate for. So it started with, honestly, with my letter to my mom, where I realized like all the hurt I've been holding on to and this very rocky relationship I had since I could remember with my mom. And even the 5 years after she passed away, of not really being able to even look back on it in any way. It was just like a mental block. I've had other times in my life where years have been completely blocked out, where I don't remember them. I don't think about them, and then they're just not there anymore. And I know that this, for me, is just my way of when something just is too intense and I am in survival mode and I have so many other things I need to look at and focus on and feel like it's the only way to get through. Subconsciously, it just becomes this kind of dead space in my mind where all my thoughts just kind of go around them or avoid it. But it's a very solid, very heavy kind of space, and without me realizing it and knowing it, that these spaces actually absorb a lot of energy because they're taking a kind of this constant subconscious power from me, like if you're carrying a weight in your hands at first, and it could be a small weight, right? But at first you're like, oh, this is nothing. But if you just held it out there over time, oh my gosh, every muscle in your entire body, not just your arm, is now struggling, and you're trying to like counter the weight and trying to like stretch those muscles a little bit, and it just becomes more and more uncomfortable and exhausting, and you're reaching this ultimate level of fatigue where you know you're gonna drop it. And it's not gonna be a choice, it's just gonna drop. Kind of had the same thing happen to me. I was climbing on like one of these climbing walls inside of a building, and it was really fun, and I was, oh my gosh, I was having so much fun. I climbed up really high and I was really fast and I was finding my groove, but I hadn't really climbed before. And so I was almost at the very top and I was loving it, right? And my hands just let go. Like they just reached a muscle failure, and that was it. I was done for the day. I had planned on climbing all day long, but like the muscles just gave out, and my hands were actually like shaking, and just I had almost no grip. So, and that happened with something I love that I was really enjoying doing. So these things that we hold, we think we're just pushing the back of our mind, and they're just there like an inanimate object in, in the back of a closet kind of thing. No harm, deal with it when you deal with it. But what I have realized in my life is these things, like I said, they take its toll on you, and you eventually reach this muscle failure where you're going to drop it. And when it shatters, you have to focus on like what it is, how it affected you, and all these crazy things, all right? So, getting back to what I was saying, a lot of these feelings, a lot of these memories and experiences I had, I just stopped thinking about, right? And as I pull them out, when I realize that this is what I need to do, and I feel how extremely painful they are, and I'm reliving them in very real ways, I'm asking myself at the same time, how am I going to do this? I'm not strong enough for this. I know I need to. I know I'm reaching this muscle failure. I know I need to find a way to let these weights down gently, but how? And the key that I have found is this gratefulness, this grateful heart to, like I said, start seeing my mom as the young girl she was that had a hard life, that gave me as much as she possibly could of herself, and so many things that maybe she didn't even mean to give me that I was able to get from her. Or I think one of the big things I'm coming to realize too, as far as gratitude, is I'm unable to be a mom. And this has always been so extremely hard for me. And looking back when I was 10, my mom was overwhelmed. She had a lot of kids. She wanted a big family, but I don't think she was emotionally available for really any of us. So, especially when she had my sister when I was 10, I became like this surrogate mother. A lot of the mothering responsibilities were put on me. I was responsible for not just her, but the one slightly older and the one younger. So I had at some point 3 young babies I was taking care of. I was responsible for feeding them, clothing them, giving them a bath, taking them to the park, all the early childhood development things. And my mom was involved to the degree she was able to, but this was my daily routine. I would wake up and the first thing I'd do is go to my younger siblings and start to take care of them. And because I was homeschooled, I never left home. I was with them all the time. They were, in most senses of the word, my babies, right? I knew the lullabies. I have lots of memories of holding, especially my little brother, on my chest, them sleeping. And I would hold them till like my biceps were really strong because I always had a baby on my hip. I would take them to the playground, and even as a teenager, people would come up to me like, "Oh, your babies are so cute." And I'd be like, "They're my siblings," you know. It just seems strange to me. But later on, when I joined the military, my best friend at the time, she went through a terrible relationship and ended up having a baby on her own. And I got to be the second mom to this child as well, because she had to deploy. She was gone for 6 months, and I had to take custody of her daughter so that she could deploy and keep her job in the military before I was able to bring her over to her grandparents. And I mean, I was the one that cut this little girl's umbilical cord, you know, and dressed her and cared for her and sleep with her next to me. And now these things that were hard at the time, right? Because this was during a time of wartime deployments, and when my own family I had no connection with, and I was finding out myself I couldn't have children, and I was going through an abusive relationship. And like, even when I was 10 and I was responsible for my siblings, I was missing out on a lot of the childhood fun and games my fellow 10-year-olds were having. They were still able to be very much children, and I was now a parent. And I now can look at these and be so grateful that these are, sorry, there's construction going on in this apartment. So I'm able to look at these things now with gratefulness that in this way I was able to experience motherhood. Somehow the universe knew I was never going to have my own children and gave me these chances in the most bizarre circumstances that now make my heart almost burst with so much gratefulness and appreciation and just love for the chance I had for my siblings. I always love them so much. I always care about them deeply, and I'm always so glad that I had this time with them. So, and this is just a small thing maybe, but to me it's really big, and I feel like it's slowly unlocking so many more doors. It's the skeleton key essentially to these dark spaces that little by little, as I go through, I regain my own energy for the things ahead of me and for a beautiful life unfolding in front of me that now I can embrace and feel calm and peace and see that life is never ever what we expect it to be, but it's still beautiful.